I'm going to share my recipe for homemade caramel corn with you, and this stuff is so amazing. I suggest you put a padlock on the container you're going to keep it in, hide the container, and then leave town, because this stuff is so good, you'll eat the whole thing in 2 days. I know somebody who did that. Okay, here's my recipe. You start by preheating the oven to 250 degrees, which I have done. It's set at 250. And you need about 8 to 10 cups of freshly popped popcorn. Do not use microwave popcorn. Don't use store-bought. You have to make it yourself. You can do it in an air popper, on the stove in a pot. The best way, I do it in a paper bag myself in a microwave. I have a recipe for that. This is about 1/3 of a cup of popcorn popped. It makes about 8 cups. You put that in a bowl. You can put it in a bowl or lay it out something on some paper towels, whatever it takes to take away all the unpopped kernels. So I just do it in one bowl, kind of bang it around a little bit, and then you just transfer it to the other bowl, and you'll leave all the either unpopped kernels or little tiny ones that maybe won't pick up all that nice syrup. So you just take the nice big pieces, and this is what you do not want in your caramel corn right here. So I leave that aside, and I've got about 8 cups here. And the next thing you do is put some nuts on the top. And here's the thing, I use almonds and walnuts are the healthiest nuts. And they're really better. If you can toast them first, they taste so much better, or pecans. In the oven, 350 for about 7 to 10 minutes. I have a video for that too. But you put them on the popcorn. But here's the thing, do not stir them in. Leave them on the top just like this, and that way they'll pick up more syrup when you put the syrup on. And now it's time to make the syrup. So you need the smallest pot that you have. This is the one I use. You put in 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter. There we are. You put in 1/2 cup of light brown sugar. You put in 1/4 cup of corn syrup. I usually use my finger for that. It's easier because it's kind of messy. 1/4 cup of corn syrup. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That's my salt. Here's 1/2 teaspoon. Right there. Now, you put this on the stove, and you're going to cook this, put it on about a medium high or so. Still got corn syrup. All right, just about like that. And you keep stirring and stirring until the butter's melted. It'll take about 2 minutes. And at that point, you're just going to leave it on the stove for 5 minutes. Cook all by itself, uncovered, undisturbed, and then we put it all together and we make the caramel corn. So I'll be back in a second when this is all melted, and we'll continue. So it's all stirred in, and then you have to be prepared just to leave it alone. So, okay, it's boiling now. I'm going to turn down the heat just so it keeps going, about medium or so. And now you leave this uncovered, undisturbed for 5 minutes. You'll need a timer for that. Here's my timer. We will set it for 5 minutes. Whoops, there it is. Yep. Be back in 5. Okay, 5 minutes are up. Turn off the stove. You get your syrup. It's still bubbling. Now you're going to add 2 things to this syrup. You're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder, baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Look how it's still cooking. That's amazing. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And after this, you got to work fairly quickly. There's the vanilla. Now, you stir this in. You'll see it changes color. It's going to turn a white, lighter color than it was. And you want to move fairly quickly. You start putting it on, and you left the nuts on top, so you pour it over the nuts first, directly over the nuts and over the popcorn. I don't do it all at once because I think I get better coverage. And you just start to stir it. I tried doing this by hand, but it's kind of hot. So you just kind of stir it and turn the popcorn over. Then when you get the popcorn that doesn't have syrup, you put on some more. Try to kind of cover the areas that don't have it, because it really sticks, and it's not that easy to smush it around. But the hotter it is when you're doing it, the easier it is. So don't take too long with this. Move quickly, and as you stir it, you'll turn up the popcorn parts that are white, and you put the syrup on the white part. I do this in about 3 or 4 sections. Maybe I'll do one more section. And then I actually look for parts that don't have it. And even if you miss some now, you'll get it in the oven because this stuff's going to melt again when it goes in the oven. So see, here's a chunk that's kind of still white right there, and I'll put the last of the syrup on there. And you need a silicone spatula to get all that nice syrup out. And stir it in. If you want to try it by hand, use some gloves or something because it's still pretty hot. But that's stirred up fairly well. I think most pieces are fairly well covered. Now we're going to put this on an ungreased, what they call a jelly roll pan or a half pan, whatever, pan like this. And you just put it in the pan, spread it out. You see see, it's already hardened in there. That's how fast this stuff caramelizes like that. So you kind of just flatten it out, spread it out like this. And now it goes in your preheated 250-degree oven for 1 hour, and you stir it every 15 minutes for an hour, and it's done. So here it goes into your 250. You set your timer again. I set it every 15 minutes to do a stir. So we'll set this for 15 minutes. And there it is. And I'll be back in 15. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. It's time to take it out of the oven and stir it. And this is something you're going to do 3 times during the hour that it cooks. And you just need a spatula, and you'll see how it gets sticky. That's what I said. If popcorn doesn't have any syrup on it, it'll get syrup on it this way. You just keep kind of turning it over. So you stir it in from all the edges. Turn it around like that. Careful, because the pan's hot and the syrup is hot. And it is a little bit messy, but it's fun too. It smells great. I wish you could smell this sort of caramel smell, sweet. Okay, so you just turn it over basically, spread it back around to all the edges. And if you get a lot on the spatula, you can take it off like that with a knife and kind of just, put it back on some of the popcorn. Back in the oven for another 15 minutes. Now, you're going to do this for 2 more times because it bakes for an hour. So you'll do it at 15 and 30 and 45 minutes, and in the hour, it's all done in 1 hour. So I'll be back when it's all finished. Okay, after an hour in the oven, this is how you cool the caramel corn. You need wax paper. You take a long strip of wax paper like that. You take the caramel corn out of the oven, and you cool it on wax paper. So you just kind of take it off like that. And it'll seem like a little sticky at first, but once it cools, it won't be sticky to the touch. But let it cool completely. It'll be easier to eat. There's your almonds and nuts and stuff. You can leave it in chunks or kind of, doesn't really matter. It's fun to have little pieces and stuff too. So that's it. You lay it out like that. You cool it that way for 15-20 minutes, and you're good to go. Okay, it's all done. This is how much that recipe makes. And no matter how much you make, this stuff is going to disappear anyway. It'll probably become your family's favorite snack, and they'll resort to tricks. They'll do whatever it takes to get to this popcorn. It's that good. Yep.
For more how-to videos, visit my website.